Hey there guys, and welcome back to another in-depth look at LittleBigPlanet 2's create mode. Once again, this is Gevra22, and in this episode we'll be creating some fat beats for our UFO using some advanced logic such as timers and sequencers. We'll also show you the multiple object select function and throw all our hard work into a microchip for later use with the controlinator actually. Right now we're going to go ahead and mess with some timer logic. This advanced logic tool basically outputs speed. So if you wanted to set an emitter or sound off at a certain number of seconds, you would use this logic tool. The timer can also be linked to itself in order to get an infinite loop. In fact, most logic tools have this ability. To give you an idea of how this works, Tom and I look for a sound object to continually play after a couple of seconds. We'll go ahead and choose the party horn for excellent fun, although I really hope that they go ahead and add a vuvuzela sound for maximum entertainment later on. Anyway, now that we've chosen the sound and placed it on our box, we'll go ahead and take the timer and wire it into itself so we have an infinite loop. All we need to do now is set the interval of when we want our sound to go off. Once we finally set our interval, we'll go ahead and take a switch, connect it to the sound object, and let the magic happen from there.
Time that timer hits the bottom. Party horn goes. Oh, it's so much easier than having create contraption. Yes. So, excellent. Super easy.
And just for kicks, here's the randomizer switch. You would use this if you wanted random outputs to occur. I don't know the exact details of the switch, but it is very powerful and would definitely help when either emitting random objects at different times or activating random actions for a boss or whatnot. But right now we just want to keep things simple, so we're not going to use it in this little demo. The next logic function we'll look at is the select function. It's basically a sequencer that allows you to cycle through outputs every time it gets activated. You can choose how many sequences you want to have on the logic tool, from 1 to 10 for example, and you can also make it jump to specific sequences in your little queue. It looks a little funky right now, but since we're still in the alpha stage on this little demo, it definitely look different in the final version. Here we're going to connect our timer to our selector and start making some beats. So as the timer ends its interval, the selector will jump to the next sequence in line, and so on and so on and so on, as long as the loop timer is active. Once the selector reaches the end of its given sequence, it will repeat from the beginning. So let's start using our time selector to make a nice little beat. Tom goes and picks some musical sounds to build the basis for our beat and places them in a nice little order to indicate the 4 outputs that we have with our selector. Here we use the multiple object select function to edit 4 musical objects at the same time to be the same sound. This is much easier than before in LittleBigPlanet 1, where you basically had to edit each sound object at once. Tom will go ahead and pick the tom for the first 4 little sound objects, and for the next 2, Tom will go ahead and pick some snares. Now we can connect our 4 switches to our sounds in the order we want them to activate. As you can see, since the timer is still active and we're not in pause mode, every time the timer finishes its interval, the selector activates an output and moves on to the next sequence, as evidenced by the lit up wires. Now we change up the interval to make our beats a little faster, and we'll have this product.
That's great, man. So, yeah, these sequences are really, really powerful.
Coming up with logic like that in LittleBigPlanet 1 would have taken a bit of time and some materials and pistons and winches and all that stuff. But now all it takes is simply 2 advanced logic tools and just a few minutes to come up with something like that. Now that we have our beats, why don't we go ahead and pop it into our little UFO for some good times. Time to use a microchip to tuck away all that logic that we just used and have it activated by a button on our controlinator. Once we get the microchip, we'll go ahead and blow up the circuit board to give ourselves some ample space to place our little beat maker logic and sound objects. Once again, we use the multiple object select and detach all the tools from our wooden block. Then we simply place it onto the microchip with no fuss whatsoever. Now we can go ahead and shrink the circuit board onto the microchip and tuck away everything we had just done just to place it onto our UFO. We could have popped it onto the controlinator, but chose to not for now. We'll go ahead and map our beat maker to the circle button and see how it works.
So I've wired that microchip with all that little tune in, that little beat, and I've wired it into the circle button. So I've got a little portable music player for my UFO now.
Nice. Whenever you need your beats.
So in the end, we can technically take our microchip that we placed on our UFO and put it onto the controlinator circuit board so we can keep everything neat and tidy. As you can see, all the different buttons are mapped. We still have the emitter button with the fire. With the X button, we have our circle button mapped to the microchip, which has our little beats on it. We also have our analog, so on and so forth, mapped to the movement orb. And literally, in less than 15 minutes, we were able to make a rather full-featured, simple UFO that can create beats on the fly and shoot fire. Not bad. So that's pretty much it on my end with all the LittleBigPlanet 2 videos from E3 2010. Once again, I want to give a big thanks to Media Molecule, specifically Spaff and Tom, the community managers over there, and Alex Evans for sitting down with me and showing me what is basically possible in LittleBigPlanet 2. It opens up a lot of opportunities for creators and even players as well, as you can see from the multiple game types, the mechanics, so on and so forth. It's insane. So here's to hoping you guys really enjoyed the videos that I was able to bring from E3 2010 about LittleBigPlanet 2. So this is Gever22 signing off, and I want to say a big thank you to everybody. We reached 1 million views over here. All right, so hope to see you in LittleBigPlanet 2 or wherever else on the internet. Take care, y'all.